There were many things pioneered in World War I which made warfare far more deadly. Weapons such as tanks, planes, and machine guns entered the battlefield, causing the casualties of war to skyrocket. Trench warfare was the most common form of fighting in the First World War, and weaponry such as machine guns made this form of warfare far more deadly. There is one more weapon that I personally find to be far more brutal than the rest. This would be gas. Deadly gases such as chlorine, phosphine, and mustard gas were widely used by both sides, causing more than 1.3 million casualties. Gases such as chlorine would irritate the lungs and cause choking to kill the victim. Mustard gas caused painful burns on the body of the victim, blistering the skin, eyes, and lungs. There's a reason why chemical warfare is banned by international law now. However, the effects of the gas aren't enough to stop some men. On August 6, 1915, at Osowiec Fortress in the Russian Empire, though the land is now part of Poland, the German 11th Landwehr Division, with around 7,000 men, bombarded the Russian 226th Zemlyansky Infantry Regiment, about 900 men, with a mixture of poisonous gases, including chlorine and bromine, which causes coughing and breathing problems. The Russians in the fortress didn't have the proper equipment to protect themselves against the deadly gas, such as gas masks, so they had to resort to their undershirts soaked in water or urine wrapped around their faces. After the bombardment, the Germans advanced on the fortress, expecting to see little resistance. Gas attacks are incredibly deadly, after all. The Russians, however, were determined to hold them back, so while coughing up blood and even bits of their lungs, as the mix of chlorine gas and moisture in the lungs created hydrochloric acid, dissolving the flesh, the Russians grabbed their weapons and fought back. The Germans did not expect this, and the sight of the bloodied Russians caused them to believe they were fighting an army of the undead. The Germans panicked and frantically retreated, some even getting caught in their own barbed wire. The 5 remaining Russian artillery guns opened fire on the Germans as well, and despite their commanding officer being mortally wounded, the Russians pushed the Germans back. Despite the valiant efforts, however, the Russians were unable to hold the area for much longer. The Germans threatened to encircle the fortress with the capture of fortresses Kaunas and Novogeorgivsk, so the Russians demolished much of Osowiec and retreated on August 18th. During the battle, the Russians were able to inflict heavy casualties on German troops, though nearly all the Russians were wounded or killed in action. This battle is one that will and has gone down in history, being immortalized in music and film. A Russian metal band, Aria, released a song called Attack of the Dead, which was inspired by the battle. The Swedish metal band, Sabaton, which is one of my favorites, released the song The Attack of the Dead Men about the battle. The gaming company Wargaming even released a short film about the battle. To put all of this simply, some Germans wanted a fortress, but the greatly outnumbered Russians inside wanted it even more. So, despite being heavily injured by gas, they pushed the Germans back, only retreating when threatened to be surrounded.